This week, we talk about change management. And as a change management consultant, uh, I can tell you that one of the most important tools that is needed is to identify all the areas of change. So, when several years ago, I was hired by Marymount to be the change management consultant for the implementation of Workday. And this was for the following modules: the HR, the payroll, the benefits, and the recruiting. Um, those modules were the biggest component of the HR system. Now, as you can guess, payroll is a huge lift in terms of going from an old payroll system to a new payroll system, and it affects everybody. So, in order to be able to effectively help the university navigate from an old system that they'd had for over 30 years to a brand new system that was now going to be running on the cloud, it was going to require a lot of change, because anytime a new system comes in, there's resistance. Even if everybody says the old system is horrible, everybody has their own little way of doing things, and they've found ways to work around it. And the biggest problem is that they find ways to work around it with like spreadsheets on their computers, special manual tasks that they do, special data that they enter in to the payroll just when they need to. So it's quite complicated. So creating a change impact, I called it a change impact items, but it's really a change impact analysis statement, is very helpful to be able to identify who's going to be impacted by the change. So what did this process entail? So if you look at my spreadsheet, for example, on the bottom, I have global, managers, onboarding, secondary stakeholders, master. So I've identified different either populations or functions that are going to be impacted by the change. So a global change means it's going to happen for all entities across the board. So, for example, employees can now input their marital status. That was something that employees couldn't do before. We had to send a message to HR. Employees can upload a picture. So this is for everybody. Everybody is impacted by this. So that was a change. And then there's all these new system concepts. So what is it that it's going to do that it didn't do before? Well, it's going to be optimized for mobile. It's going to have two-factor identification, but we need to know that it's down every Friday, Saturday for upgrades twice a year, and for it's role-based. So that's very important. It's a whole different way of looking at data. It has a supervisory organization, and it times out in 30 minutes. So this particular change impact analysis was very helpful for implementing a new system, because it helped us identify what functionality was going to be added. And then when we looked at it, what did we do? We created the population of peoples who would be impacted. So, for example, within employees, we had 3 categories of employees: faculty, staff, and non-staff. And for managers, we had faculty, staff, and non-staff. And then we looked at each of these items that I had been identifying, and we identified who would be impacted by each of these items. This allowed us then to tailor communication to these groups. One thing about change management is it's all about communicating. It's preparing people for the change, because people go through all these different set of emotions through the change, because they have to, most likely, they're having to keep the old system up and running, and they're having to help build the new system, and they're having to help then test the new system while they're still keeping their old job going. And they also have to now develop new policies and procedures. So there is a tremendous amount of work that occurs. But I show you this document as a way to help you in terms of identifying what the changes are going to be, identifying the categories of people that are going to be impacted, And then the last step is crafting communication for each of these group of people to help keep them informed about the change. So just a little bit of a tidbit on how you can be effective in change management. Let me know if you have any thoughts on it. Thank you.